Totally understand it.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake and I were kind of talking just a little bit before the show. We'll kind of throw this out there before we jump into the Brewers. But one thing we were talking about is the Bucks head coaching search. The Bucks have now done a first interview, if you want to call it that. The owners and John Horst flew out to Memphis to meet with Taylor Jenkins, former Bucks assistant. And it does sound like they're going to be meeting with Taylor Jenkins again. So as far as anything with our May 15th, when we were planning on talking about Bucks coaching candidates, that'll probably shift to a different type of Bucks show that day. And we'll still talk about Taylor Jenkins on that show if that ends up being the hire. But Jake, I don't know if you have any early thoughts you want to throw out about that quick before we start jumping into the Brewers.
No, I mean, I like Taylor Jenkins. I was a little sad he only spent 1 year in Milwaukee. He was pretty successful in Memphis during his first stint there. Things kind of fizzled out. There was, communication errors. We can get more into that. If he ends up being the hire, there'll be a lot of stuff that we could talk about. But very interesting time for the Bucks. They have to nail this head coaching hire. They have to, hopefully get a good pick. And there's another guy that he used to coach that is also in a very interesting situation. So things can shape up really nicely for Milwaukee in this offseason if all the dominoes fall in the way that we need them to. And we're just going to sit here and be good fans and hope that it does fall in the way that we expect it to. A team that it is starting to fall in the way we expect it to is the Brewers. So we're going to talk about them, and I'm pretty excited about it.
So, I mean, we got 6 games to talk about today, and we got 5 Ws.
Hell yeah, dude.
So let's do it. Let's start with Blue Jays Game 2, the one that ended the skid.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just gonna start ripping, dude. I was like, all right, yeah, let's go, dude. So Chad Patrick on the mound, and Patrick was phenomenal. He had 12 swings and misses in this one. His longest out, this was the longest outing by a Brewer starter so far this season, 6 2/3, also matches a career high for him. His cutter was elite. If you guys ever get a chance, you guys need to listen to Vinny talk on the post-game show. He's really good on the pregame show as well, but post-game show, he has such good stuff. He knows baseball, so he talked a lot about how his cutter was moving. And this was the game, like you said, that snapped the 6-game skid. And something that Vinny also mentioned is that Patrick was the one that started the game last season when the Brewers started 0-4. He was the one that started the next game that got us our first win. So last year, he stops the losing streak to start the year. And this year, he stops the losing streak of 6 games when the Brewers were just bleeding. And they needed somebody to come save them. Did a really nice job by manufacturing runs in the 8th with only 1 ball hit out of the infield. So the Brewers team is obviously missing a lot of firepower on the offensive end. So they got to figure out ways to win baseball games. And that's the beautiful thing that we love about this team is they can win games in so many ways. We're going to talk about that plenty during this episode, I'm sure, because the Brewers won baseball games in a ton of different ways this week, just this week in general, winning this one 2-1. When we talk about the next game, guess what? It was 2-1 as well. So with this one, Hamilton had an infield single to start it off. This is in the 8th inning when the Brewers were down 1-0. Frelick hit a single that directly that bounced in the ground, and the catcher didn't make a play on it. I don't know what he was thinking. Still to this moment, I have no idea what he was thinking. The ball drops right in front of him. He's safe. Everybody's just like, what is going on? I'm texting you. I'm like, dude, the devil magic is back. The devil magic that the Cubs claim that we have. And then Contreras with an opposite field single off a guy who's really, really hard to hit for right-handed hitters and with that arm angle. So he gets one to sneak over there in the right field, and then Terang with a ground out to score Sal for the lead. And Uribe comes in and gets his first save of the year and really locks this one down. I want to give a shout-out to Ashby as well. He did a fantastic job working his way out of a jam. He struck out Straw with a nasty curveball. We're going to talk about some curveballs in a second here too. With runners on first and second. So really nice job by Ashby earning his 4th win of this season. Also, Terang, second longest on base streak in MLB to this point, up to 17 in this game. So just a really nice game overall. Contreras and Terang coming through. Brewers only had 5 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, and 6 Ks, but they got the job done, and that's what we needed at this point in time.
Yeah, it was funny just because this game took place last Wednesday, and on last Wednesday's show, like the literal day that I said Chad Patrick should get more trust, he gets more trust.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Murphy said that it was the cutter that earned him that, which you mentioned. For him to throw only 81 pitches to go 6 2/3 innings and be the first Brewer to pitch into the 7th this season, like Jake mentioned, and give up only 3 hits, did have the 2 walks and only 2 strikeouts and 1 earned run. I do strongly believe that the defense deserves credit here. And one of the plays is Brandon Lockridge making a really, really nice catch, like right on the left field foul railing. And then just his range in left field in general, absolutely crucial to the Brewers holding the Blue Jays to only 1 run. So Brandon Lockridge needs credit for his defense that he played in this game. Yes. And then on the flip side, I'm going to give some credit to a Blue Jays player. Dylan Cease is an absolute monster.
Yeah.
That dude is so good. So I'm not going to throw a fit about the offense being like, oh, they did nothing through 7 innings. Yeah, Dylan Cease was balling.
They figured it out, though.
And they did. They scored 2 runs without a ball leaving the infield, and that was enough to win. So I don't care how. I care how many. A W is literally a W, and like we literally get to do it times 2 because they won 2-1 again in the 3rd game of the series. Mm-hmm. And looking at Brandon Sproat, he got off to a great start. We made a post about it that we just talked about it last Wednesday, that in his appearances, he's looking better and better and better. And now this appearance and better again. He got Vladdy to strike out twice, which is fantastic. And the 3rd time that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. batted against Sproat, he grounded into a double play. So you're talking about one of the best hitters in the American League, and Brandon Sproat got the best out of him 3 times. His fastball looked great. Like, we saw the ace-level fastball from Brandon Sproat, and that was awesome. He pitched 6 2/3 innings, only gave up 1 earned run. Now, I'm not expecting his next outing to be still better than this one yet. I would love it if it was, but I'm not saying that we're at his ceiling, but we're at the higher end of the expectations for what I had for his first year in Milwaukee. If he's consistently giving you 6 innings and only giving up a run or 2, I will absolutely have only good things to say about Brandon Sproat. That guy is 100% going to put you in positions to win if he pitches like he did against the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
This was like I said, his 4th straight trending upward appearance. Had 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, only 1 walk. That's a huge deal. The command is something we talked about a lot with Brandon Sproat.
Yes,
and it only took him 75 pitches to do it.
Yeah, he was very efficient.
I think if we get into a situation where if this is kind of the more regular Brandon Sproat that we see, I think we're going to see him get a 7-inning appearance this season at some point.
I can see that.
And then he was taken out and at 75 pitches. And I just want to throw this out there just contextually of people being like, why? He's pitching so good. Why would you not ride him? First of all, you've gotten 6 2/3 great innings out of him.
Yep.
Be happy.
Yep.
Because plenty of people were bitching about him his first 3 appearances. So, first of all, be happy, not greedy. Second of all, the guy that was coming up to bat was a left-handed hitter. Sproat is a right-handed pitcher. Third of all, that said lefty doubled off of him in his last appearance. And what am I now? And fourth of all, that same guy, hit a monster home run in the first game of this series. So why test fate there? So he was taken out for a lefty-lefty matchup. Also, I mean, like I mentioned, he also got the double. So I mean, it's the same guy that actually they set up the lefty-lefty matchup with in game 2. So I mean, they're following the blueprint, and obviously the blueprint worked to absolute perfection because the game ended in the same score that it did the day before.
Yep.
So I have absolutely zero complaints with Brandon Sproat or how he was used. What I want to say is that Gary Sanchez and William Contreras were absolutely dominating the strike zone as far as challenges go this whole series. So those guys deserve credit. Bottom of the 7th, a walk in 3 straight one of them being a bunt single by David Hamilton for the lead and the win. Ended up being the game-winning situation there. Trevor McGill, a 1-2-3 eighth inning, and letting the Blue Jays know about it after they were talking shit. So Trevor McGill gets a 1-2-3 eighth inning with 2 strikeouts, and Vladdy's talking shit from the on-deck circle. Trevor McGill's giving it right back to him, and I love that. That's the version of Trevor McGill that I want to see. I want to see Trevor McGill like channeling his inner Joe Kelly and talking shit to the other team, because that's when I feel that Trevor McGill is at his best. I feel like Trevor McGill is a guy who thrives on chaos and like shit talking. I feel like he's not like a stoic guy like Brandon Woodruff. I feel like Trevor McGill is like a guy that wants to talk some shit, and if you talk shit, he's going to strike you out, and if he gets the better of you, he is giving you shit back. Mm-hmm. And that's the version of Trevor McGill that I like to see, and he did really well. Angel Zerpa did allow a leadoff single, but then got 3 straight groundouts, so good job by him. It was a really great bounce back these 2 games to win the series, and actually Game 3 was Pat Murphy's 200th career win. So just a really good 2-game set after having a pretty ugly Game 1 to talk about last Wednesday. So we're off to a great start here. So what did you take away from Game 3?
Yeah, so I might sound a little redundant in some of the stuff that I wrote down, because I wrote down that Sproat was great. You got 6 2/3 out of him, and you got people bitching that he didn't get to go 7 when you were complaining when he gave up 7 in his first start. That's word for word what I wrote down, because I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Now, I was one of those people, like, I wasn't being super serious. I was like, man, it would have been so much cooler if I could write down a 7.0 in my notes. But to understand that, and I'm going to call him from now on what Bill Schroeder called him, everyday Aaron, for him to come in, give you that third of an inning, lock that down. McGill comes in. I wrote down, now that's the McGill that we know, landing the knuckle curve for strikes, and makes his fastball so much more better. Makes it elite when he can rise that thing up, and he can drop out of the zone with the knuckle curve. What I wrote about Zerpa is, again, like you said, he gave up the leadoff single to Guerrero Jr., that forced 3 straight groundouts, all via the sinker. All his last 5 pitches of this game were all sinkers, and I wrote down that Contreras wasn't fucking around. He said, give me the goddamn sinker again. Now give me it again. Now give me it again. Let's get the hell out of here, right? Talk about the scoring in this game. The game was 1-1 going into the 7th. Blue Jays scored in the 3rd off of a sac bunt, and the Brewers got a sac fly from Rengifo, which scored Terang, got his on-base streak to 18 games in a row. And then in the bottom of the 7th, Mitchell walked. Jones hit a sac bunt, beats that out. 2 on and no outs. Hamilton, back-to-back pitches, hits a sac bunt, and he beats that out. Ortiz then takes the first 2 pitches of his at-bat. He bunts to score Garrett. 3 straight bunts, and Milwaukee has the lead. What is happening? What is happening? That all happened within 5 pitches. I mean, unbelievable stuff. The Brewers walk away with a W and a series win. They desperately needed. Things were teetering a little bit. This division is just starting out at such a historic pace right now. I believe it's still true today that the NL Central has more teams over 500 than the entire American League. I can't hear you, by the way.
I believe that to be true.
Okay. But yeah, just absolutely insane. I mean, the other day, before yesterday's game, the Brewers were 12-9 and they were in last place.
Yeah. And
now I think the Pirates lost last night and the Brewers won. So now the Pirates, hi baby, you want to come say hi? The Brewers are 13-9 and the Pirates are 12-10. Pirates are off to their best start in a long time, and they're in last place still. Want to come say hi? Somebody wants to say hi. Can you when I go like this, what does that mean? Brewers, right? So when I don't even say that the Brewers are on TV, I go, and she goes, the Brewers. Yep. So yeah, the Brewers gonna get a nice series win.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so after the Blue Jays series, the Brewers went to Miami.
Yes.
And kept the dubs rolling. So what did you take away from Game 1 in Miami?
Yeah, we get a debut.
Yeah. Okay, really quick. Just got to pat myself on the back. Sorry. I should have let myself start with this one.
Go.
Brewers primer. I said a guy, to be fair, I did say a guy that could pop up from the farm system to the bullpen. But Coleman Crow was my guy, and Coleman Crow came and made his debut. Just really quick, just had to pat myself on the back. Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, absolutely. Whenever you need that opportunity, go for it. I'm with it, my guy. But Crow comes in, and his curveball is something special, man. He had, I believe, up to this point, I think it got up to 13. He has all of the Brewers pitches this season that have 3,000 RPM, all off his curveball.
Yeah.
Now his cutter, I believe it's his cutter, is also at like 2.8 or 2.9 RPM, so it's pretty good. He gets a ton of action out of it.
Daddy, I got a letter from school.
Oh, you got a letter from school?
Yeah. Coleman Crow is the guy that the Brewers got for Tyrone Taylor and Adrian Hauser, by the way. So this being a guy that the Brewers traded for 2 years ago. Actually, that's almost 3 years ago now. 2.5 years ago now. Getting to show why the Brewers traded two proven depth guys. Like, I wouldn't go as far as to say like reliable starters, but I would absolutely say that those guys were proven depth pieces for this one prospect from the Mets, and it just really kind of goes to show that Matt Arnold knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so back to his curveball, he landed that thing for strikes. He used it really well to keep Miami guessing. He threw his cutter 30% of the time. He threw his curveball 23% of the time, and his four-seamer 21% of the time. Those were his top three most used pitches. Against left-handers, he used the curveball a little bit more, 32%, and right-handers, he used it 12%. He used the cutter and the slider a little bit more against the right-handers. 3 of his 4 Ks were with the curveball. The one that wasn't was off his four-seamer. He got Lopez swinging. That was his first strikeout on the curveball. He got Pauly looking with the curveball. His third strikeout was with the four-seamer. He got Ramirez swinging. And then his last strikeout was just, oh, my God. He buckled the knees. It's like one of those highlights that you watch over and over again with the curveball, like back in the day when you were a kid. He just throws that sucker. It landed directly in the middle of the zone if you look it up online. And Norby's just standing there like, damn, that was a good one. But that one was the most gangster to me if you had to pick a gangster strikeout for Crow. It was awesome seeing how happy his family is. That's probably the thing that you take away most when somebody makes their debut is like people don't get to see all the work. That's what they always talk about, and then, his entire family's there and they're just, yeah. And they're so excited. And I'm getting a little bit of goosebumps. Like, I can't even imagine that feeling, honestly. Just something special.
I remember Sal Frelick's debut for the same exact reason.
Yeah, dude, he was going nuts.
Yeah.
He was going nuts, and, well, we have other reasons, but so Brewers offense, 9 hits, 5 RBIs, and 6 walks. I mean, it's getting a little bit better. It's not great, but the way that things were going, off the 6-game losing streak and then winning 2-1, having to, manufacture some runs, it's getting a little bit more consistent. I do want to give a shout-out to Jake Bauers and Garrett Mitchell. They both had really good games in this one. Garrett Mitchell had the finishing blow in extra innings for the Brewers. He ended 2 for 4, had 3 RBIs, had a double. That's his 4th double of the year, and a walk. Jake Bauers, 3 for 4, a walk, and 3 runs. Give a shout-out to Contreras and Rengifo as well. They both are up to 5 doubles on the year. So just hitting the ball hard, getting on base. The Brewers are starting to figure it out. At this point, you're like, okay, we're back. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're righting the ship for when we get our reinforcements.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, on Coleman Crow, like I said, I just had to throw it out there that I kind of called that one as a guy who could show up from the farm to their debut. I did say I think it would happen in the bullpen, but he got his debut as a starter, which is awesome. He got his first strikeout in the 2nd inning on a nasty curveball. Like Jake said, his curveball is nasty. He pitched a debut gem, 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, and one of them was an inherited runner that was allowed to score. Yeah. And of those 4 strikeouts, 3 of them came on the curveball. The Brewers pitchers picked off 2 more runners. They threw this game, the first game of the Marlins series, they lead Major League Baseball with 8 runners picked off of the bases. So the Brewers know their way around the bases, whether they are pitching or hitting. It's really refreshing to see a team be like a special teams situation, be the best in those kind of margins.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I totally forgot about that. Now you reminded me. Was it Crow on the mound or Anderson on the mound when we did 2 straight at the first base? Might even be, no, it was Anderson, I think. There was a guy on first base.
Abner picked one off, and Grant Anderson picked one off.
Yep, I think it was Anderson, the one that I remember, where he threw it to first base, and Contreras was just going like this, like wiping his arm, like just,
Yeah.
relax. And then he calls it again to throw over there, and he throws over there, and he threw him out. And I was like, yo, Contreras gets all the credit for that, dude. That's the IQ showing. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah.
And that was a 2-out walk also. We've talked about it, and we're going to talk about it. Spoiler alert. 2-out walks coming back to bite you in the ass. For Grant Anderson to give up that 2-out walk and then be like, hey, get off my bases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I want to give credit to Garrett Mitchell. So we're in the top of the 4th inning, and Brewers have 3 guys on base with 1 out. Bases are loaded, 1 out. Gary Sanchez walked, Jake Bauers had a single, and Luis Rengifo got hit by a pitch. And Garrett Mitchell hits a tapper, and he beats it out. Now, not only does this play to run, but it sets up the rest of the inning, right? So the next at bat is Greg Jones, who grounds out, makes a fielder's choice. That drives in a run. But that would have been the 3rd out if Garrett Mitchell didn't beat out that tapper.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Luis Rengifo drifting a little bit off of third base. The catcher makes a throw to third base that sails into left field, and the Brewers play to run. That's 2 runs that would not have scored without Garrett Mitchell hustling to first. So Garrett Mitchell, that hustle directly led to 2 more runs scoring for the Brewers.
Love that.
And then the last thing I put on here is this. I felt like I've been saying for the last week or two that Rengifo was close to start banging some hits just because he's been hitting the ball hard. Mm-hmm. So it was good to see Rengifo have a good day in the first game of the Marlins series. Then going to the second game of the Marlins series, Brandon Woodruff. I don't know why people doubt him.
I don't either.
Because he's been there, done that. He came here, did that. That dude owns Miami in the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, he does.
He owns their stadium.
That's true.
He was superb. He finished 7 innings in 92 pitches. He got off to a great start. He only needed 9 pitches to go 1, 2, 3 in the first inning. He threw 24 changeups.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's 20. He threw 24 changeups out of his 92 pitches, is 26% of his pitches. The last 4 years, these are his changeup usage percentages. 17.6, skip 2024, 19.7, 16.3, 14.1. So you're talking a 10 to 12% increase on his changeups. Like this day, he had the feel for it. If Brandon Woodruff has that feel for that pitch the rest of this season, something I'm absolutely going to have to keep an eye on, I feel like that's going to put him back in that top 5, top 10 Cy Young candidate type atmosphere.
Yeah, that gives the fastball a little bit more bite too.
It absolutely does. That makes his 94, 95 mile an hour fastball look like 96, 97, 98.
Yeah, which he used to have, obviously. But
right. And he still, I mean, as the games kind of go on, he gets close to that 95.
Oh, yeah. I've seen him hit it a few times. I think. 95, 96.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he's touching 96 with a 88 mile an hour changeup that bites,
yeah,
Brandon Woodruff doesn't need any other pitches.
Fucking A, dude.
a guy that can paint that well. He retired the final 11 batters that he faced, 11 in a row, and it took him only 44 pitches.
Hell yeah, dude.
To retire those 11 batters.
Hell yeah.
That is amazing. You're talking, if that was the stretch, you're talking 7 1/3 innings in 88 pitches. Sorry. Nope, that's 8. Because, yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, 8 1/3. Because that 11 outs is 3 2/3. I got my math all messed up. 7 1/3. 7 1/3 innings in 88 pitches on that efficiency.
Okay.
Sheesh. That's why I don't like when they do it in thirds. It made my brain hurt just for a second. I don't do fractions very often. Anyway, 7 1/3 innings in 88 pitches. Like that type of efficiency is crazy. Mm-hmm. Like you're talking about him being able to potentially, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but you're talking about him being able to potentially go an 8-inning game in less than 100 pitches, which I'm not at all expecting them to push him to that point anymore this season, but that's the efficiency that he went through in the second game of the Marlins series. He did have his whole arsenal going. He was throwing everything for strikes. He was keeping everything in the places that he wanted it. Only allowed 3 hits, had 4 strikeouts, only allowed 1 walk. The Brewers, however, drew 11 walks. Now, I have to, if you watched our show last week, I have to say this was 3 days after last Wednesday when I said the Brewers should be more aggressive. Now, I just want to throw a disclaimer in here. William Contreras' double that came ahead of Bryce Terang's homer was on the first pitch. And then that homer that Bryce Terang hit came on the first pitch. So I think there's something to be said about swinging specifically at first pitch strikes. So when I'm saying being aggressive, I don't mean swing at everything. I mean swing at the good ones instead of only waiting for the perfect ones.
Yep, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. I just feel like based on what I said last week and then, bragging that they had 11 walks, I feel like that's potentially contradictory. So I just wanted to say why I thought those two things.
Well, I mean, we're in a different mindset last week, so totally understand.
Right, and like I said, I still feel the same way. Like I still want them to be aggressive on good pitches. But if a guy has thrown 11 straight balls and he throws you one down the middle, not opposed to you taking that one just to see if he's going to throw you a bad pitch after he's thrown 11 in a row out of the zone.
Yeah, within the flow of the game, understand.
Right, yeah, and being smart with it. Like there were a lot of errant pitches in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't expect guys to try to be aggressive and be like, oh, I can hit that. Like Javi Baez can do that and swing away and miss it stuff that ends up a foot and a half outside the zone. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Of those 11 walks, Garrett Mitchell drew 3, Bryce Terang and Joey Ortiz drew 2, and the Brewers only struck out 5 times.
Yeah.
11 walks and 5 strikeouts is crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about seeing the zone well. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
3 of the Brewers' 6 hits were for extra bases. Love that. And then the Brewers did try to get a couple innings out of Woodford. They only got an inning in the third, and thankfully Uribe, a guy who's been kind of used a lot lately, only needed 4 pitches to finish the last 2 outs of the game. So it didn't really have a bullpen butterfly effect that's going to affect us into the rest of this week. So what did you take away from Brewers Marlins Game 2?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to talk about how Terang's homer was pretty clutch. Got the game from 3-1 to 5-1, and you kind of shift your mindset. And you were hoping that Woodford would be able to finish his game. Kind of sucks that he didn't really have good command. Let's just call it what it is. You give up 5 hits and an earned run in an inning and a third. You're kind of all over the place. You're either outside of the zone too much or you're hitting too much to the plate. Pretty much the total opposite of what Woodruff was because he was fantastic. He's been really, really good in 3 out of his 4 outings. I'm just going to say that right now. I wrote down all of his outings. I wrote down his stats, and I wrote down his stats without that one bad outing. His bad outing was against Boston, where he went 5 2/3, gave up 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. So his stats altogether are 23 2/3 innings, 18 hits, 9 earned runs, 4 walks, and 20 Ks, which is like, all right, I'll take that. That's pretty solid, right?
That sounds like a 4 ERA to me.
It's a 3.42, so pretty close. You also want to add in that the Brewers have won 3 out of the last 3 of his 4 starts this season. He's a true leader. He's a locker room guy. He's the ultimate team first guy. I mean, this guy's battled through injury over injuries, had heartbreak over the last couple of years. So for him to come back and give you that as basically your 5th starter is pretty impressive to me on its own right. Now, if you just take his three starts, without the start at Boston, he has 18 innings pitched, 10 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 16 Ks. That does not sound like a guy who should be 5th in your rotation, in my opinion. That's 16 K to 2 walks and only 3 earned runs and 18 innings. That's pretty damn good. That's 6 innings per outing if you're doing the math.
I will say of the the 5th guy in your rotation thing, I do pretty strongly feel that he's 5th in the rotation just to have him be like the last guy to make a start, not because he's the 5th best starter. Just want to throw
Yeah. And having him be the breakup guy between like a Harrison or a Sproat, going to Miz. I mean, I like how they set that up as well.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, statistically, from his impact that he can have on the team, traditionally he's not the 5th best starter, in my opinion. So Terang obviously got on base again because he touched them all with a massive home run. 4th of the year, 3 RBIs for him. He's up to 14. Lockridge with an RBI. Frelick got back on the RBI train, so that was nice to see. He's been struggling as of late, so really nice for him to get back in the RBI train. Rengifo and Contreras both got their sixth doubles of the year, so good on them, continuing to hit the ball hard. Contreras has always been a guy who can hit a bunch of doubles. When he's going right, he hits the opposite field, and he could slide into second base. To your point, Rengifo's been hitting the ball hard. Now he's just finding some grass and not a glove. So good for him. And, the Brewers get the series win after the first two in Miami, and we move on to Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, a 5-3 loss. It was a little bit of a annoying one. I mean, what did you take away from that one? I didn't have much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was just a really, really rough first inning for Miz. You had a walk, a single, a fielder's choice error by Hamilton, a hit by pitch, and there was no outs, bases loaded to start this one. Nice job getting a double play ball. He did give up a single and then a strikeout to get out of the first inning. But then the Brewers are down 3-0 before you blinked, and it's like, oh boy. Offense struggled to get anything going, really. Really nice job on Miami's defense.
I got numbers on that.
Yep. In the sixth inning, after Hamilton used his speed as a weapon, they got one. A walk, he stole second, and the catcher tried to throw him out at second, overthrew him. He got the third, and then a ground out scored him. So that's how we got our first run. Miami got two back in the bottom of the sixth. Quiet seventh for both teams, and then 2 RBI single by Sanchez in the eighth, made it 3-5. And things got a little bit interesting for a second there, and then 4 outs later, the Brewers are heading to Detroit with a 2-1 series win. So it is what it is, but things that you can take away positively. Mizorowski's not always just going to dominate and go 1, 2, 3 in an inning, right? So he has to figure some things out.
That's the realistic part of optimistic and realistic.
So you got to have that ability, especially as a pitcher, as a starting pitcher, be able to get yourself out of jams, right? So was it perfect? No, but he figured it out and he settled in. Still gave you 5 innings, so the bullpen wasn't overly used. He did still have 9 strikeouts. That's also positive. That's kind of his MO is strikeouts. He's kind of cut from the same cloth of a Corbin Burns and a Freddie Peralta, where he's always going to be high pitch count because he's getting strikeouts, right? People can't touch his stuff, so he's not just getting 1 pitch groundouts, like Brandon Woodruff, with his lower velocity now, and he's hitting corners. Quinn Priester, who, by the way, is scheduled to pitch tonight. What is he? What did they say? 3 innings?
3 innings, 45 to 50 pitches.
Yeah, so that's good news. Murphy told us to pump the brakes on the excitement, but hey, any excitement is good excitement. Also, Jackson Trillo took some pitches today, so took some batting practice. So love to hear that. And then also you can take away, Gary Sanchez getting a hit with 2 outs and scoring some runs. That's pretty clutch. And Garrett Mitchell continuing to contribute to the team with RBIs and getting on base and playing good defense, staying healthy. Those are all positive things. And the Brewers already won the series, so you can't be too upset. I do love when they win on Sundays, not going to work on Monday off a win. But hey, I'll take the series win.
Especially when we're talking on the road too.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to be upset about a road series win. You go out on a road trip, and you're facing the Marlins, who are a little bit off to a decent start, and then you're facing the Tigers, who are a very good team. So if you can come back from that road trip like 3-3, you're feeling okay. If you come back 4-2, I think the Brewers are in a great spot. So really quick before we get into that first Tigers game, the big things that I had from that third game against the Marlins is that Mizorowski came out throwing hard. He had his 100+ mile-an-hour stuff going, but he bounced a couple of his curveballs, and that's something that we kind of knew was part of Mizorowski when he was drafted. Like that, the command was a little bit of an issue. It's not the first guy that the Brewers have had in their organization that has had that, where they have the great stuff, but they have the command that has to be fixed. The Brewers have thrived on grabbing those kind of pitchers and molding them. That's part of the pitching lab. It's not just all, throw this instead of this and hold it here instead of here, stand here instead of here, and now you're an ace. Like, that's not the only parts of it that work that way. So part of it is working that command and making that better. The 2 biggest examples that I would use would be Aaron Ashby and Freddie Peralta. Like, those guys had their command issues at times, and the Brewers were able to mold those guys into very, very useful guys. Freddie being a Cy Young candidate last year, and Aaron Ashby becoming a very, very, very reliable bullpen guy.
Yeah.
So, Jacob Mizorowski is like 17 years old, so just got to have a little bit of patience on him. And the same goes for Brandon Sproat and Kyle Harrison. Those guys are both super young, super raw, but full of stuff that has the ability to play at the major league level. And then the only other thing, so Dom Cotroneo made a good point that the Marlins are one of the best teams at hitting breaking balls. Mizorowski was throwing his good fastball, so why didn't he use it more? I will say he did use it on 20 of the 30 pitches that he threw in the first inning, so it's a little hard to imagine more fastball usage. I guess at that point I would say maybe lean into the slider a little bit more because that he can throw similar to his fastball. It just frisbees over 12 inches and is 6 miles an hour slower than his fastball, which is just a ridiculous thing to say, but
Stupid.
not a slider. It's 96. It is a slider. He's just nuts.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. But when Jake said that the Brewers had some bad luck as far as the Marlins defense goes, it's a little crazy, to be honest with you. The Brewers had expected batting average lineouts. Bryce Terang had his lineout was an expected batting average of 420. David Hamilton had a lineout with an expected batting average of 480. Gary Sanchez had a lineout with an expected batting average of 720. Luis Rengifo had one of 380. William Contreras had one of 340. All of those ended up being outs. The Marlins center fielder was all over the place.
He was the MVP of the game for them.
He absolutely was, 100%. Just the way I talked about Lockridge in that second Blue Jays game, like keeping the Blue Jays at 1 run, absolutely a factor in keeping the Brewers to 3.
Yeah.
And then just that Blake Perkins flyout that would have been a home run in 6 out of 30 ballparks, one of them not being American Family Field, but the 6 being the Yankee Stadium, Houston, Philadelphia, Seattle, and then Detroit. So that flyout would have been a home run in Detroit. Moving on to Detroit, the Brewers are going to brewer. 3 runs on an infield single that had to be challenged because Garrett Mitchell was originally called out. So originally Garrett Mitchell called out at first base. He was safe by kind of a lot.
He was.
To be honest with you, like the ball wasn't even like in the cylinder of the glove. It was still like a solid 18 inches away from touching the glove when Garrett Mitchell was stepping on first. Following that infield single, a walk, another single, a bunt single, a broken bat single, and then Bryce Terang and David Hamilton causing chaos on the bases. Firstly, I want to say something, and then we talk about the broken bat single. David Hamilton, that bunt single that he had, was with the corner infielders up.
Yeah.
He bunted for a single with the corner infielders saying, "Bunt it, I dare you."
And he did, bro.
Bunt yourself into an out, and he's like, "Watch this." And he bunts it right to the third baseman and still gets a single out of it.
Bro, this is like different sport, but you know what that reminded me of?
You say Bolt breaking the world record in the 100-meter?
No, when the Badgers were in their heyday, and they're just like, yeah, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to have 400 rushing yards on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's exactly what that reminded me of. Like, yeah, the Badgers just play a style. The Brewers play a style of baseball, and
David Hamilton fits.
Oh, yeah, he does.
So that happens. And then we get into a situation where Bryce Terang hits a broken bat single into left field, and he gets caught between first and second base, trying to make sure that the run score is being Sal Frelick, which I feel like you probably could have trusted to score. But Terang gets himself caught on the rundown to make sure that the run scores before the out happens. And then David Hamilton breaks for home while that rundown is happening, and David Hamilton gets thrown out at home. But I'm not mad at David Hamilton for taking off and running in that situation, because if David Hamilton scores in that situation, A, you just stole another run. You're talking about a bases clearing broken bat single.
Mm-hmm.
And B, we're all going to be super hyped. If Bryce Terang's caught in a rundown, and while that happens, David Hamilton dives in between the catcher's legs and steals another run, this is going to be the first time I say it. If being aggressive worked 100% of the time, everybody would do it. This is one of those situations where they were super aggressive and it didn't work out. But you're talking about the same guy that we were just saying bunted for a single with the infielders up. So I'm not going to be mad about him trying to steal a base, especially when that base would have directly produced a run.
Uh-huh.
Going on. Kyle Harrison, he was pitching pretty well despite working through a pretty decent amount of traffic, and he had a little bit of trouble with his command. He also had a 10-day gap between his last appearance. They gave him a couple extra days in between appearances to recover. Pat Murphy did also say that he would have a short leash, so he gave up 2 walks and a single in the bottom of the 4th, and that ended his day. Now, Grant Anderson came in with the bases loaded and 0 outs, and he delivered. He got a ground ball double play and a strikeout to only allow 1 run and preserve the lead. That's fantastic. Great job, Grant Anderson. Then he comes out next inning, allowed a leadoff single, but gets a flyout and a ground into a double play to face the minimum in 2 innings pitched. Fantastic job, Grant Anderson. We probably should have been giving him a little bit more credit this season so far.
He's been really good, dude. Really, really good.
Yeah. Trevor McGill pitched the 6th inning. Pat Murphy using him a little bit differently, pitching him a little bit earlier in the games, and he looked like his old self.
Mm-hmm.
Both of his pitches looked good, and he had a 1-2-3 6th inning. So not mad at that at all. And the Brewers followed it up in the top of the 7th with 2 hard-hit lineouts to right field. So you're like, oh, all right, we'll get him in the next inning. And then the Brewers do what the Brewers do. They have a single and a walk. Guy gets caught off of second base, but pitcher throws it into center field, so the guy gets to third base. And then Bryce Durang and William Contreras both hit singles to left center field to tack on 2 out runs. Allowing 2 runs with 2 outs in that situation after a walk and an error, that's got to just feel like getting punched in the stomach if you're the Tigers.
Dude, I said it after the first show after the first week of games. I'm like, this team refuses to score unless there's 2 outs, dude. Like they're the meme where the guy sits forward and he locks in. Like they are that meme, bro.
That's so true. For them, like, you know, there's 0 outs, 1 outs, and 2 outs that you can score runs with, but I feel like it's like over 40% of their runs are coming in a third of the amount of time that you spend with outs.
I gotta look that up.
I feel like that's what I heard during the broadcast yesterday, that it was 40-something% of their runs are scoring with 2 outs. But if you divide each of the outs into 33%, like that's more than they should be scoring with 2 outs, especially when you factor the fact that the bases were empty with 2 outs.
Right.
So that, and I thought it was a very odd choice by AJ Hinch, the Tigers manager, to leave a left-handed pitcher in to start the 8th inning against Gary Sanchez of all people.
Yeah.
Like, I guess there was lefties behind him, but like that still seemed like a choice to me. Gary Sanchez hit his 4th career triple in almost 4,000 career plate appearances. So we'll probably see one, you know, probably never again. So enjoy that. That's probably Gary Sanchez's last career triple. He would need another 1,000 at bats before that happens again. So, like I said, enjoy what is probably Gary Sanchez's last career triple, thanks to Javi Baez for taking a horrible route at that one. Again, I mean, people are questioning because Luis Lara, and we're going to talk about minor leaguers probably starting next week or the following week. Mm-hmm. Luis Lara is tearing it up in AAA, and people are like, why are Blake Perkins and Brandon Lockridge still on this team? Because they play defense, and defense matters, and Javi Baez shows why. That dude's batting 9th in the lineup and also playing shitty defense.
Dude, Blake Perkins literally robbed a home run. Like, now it was pretty lazy.
He stood there and caught a ball that would have been a home run. Oh, but robbed it.
It still counts. It would count as a home run if it went over, so it's still a robbery.
The most nonchalant home run robbery that you'll ever see.
Hey, he's earned it because he's had some crazy ones.
He has. I would have loved to see Lorenzo Cain do something like that. Or Keon Broxton, for that matter. Mm-hmm. But Gary Sanchez double gets turned into a triple thanks to Javi Baez. And then Garrett Mitchell shows how a triple should actually be hit, but Gary Sanchez is not that fast. So the Brewers, 5-1 game in the 8th, and the Brewers put up a 7 spot in the 8th inning. That sucks, because you've already been punched in the gut if you're the Tigers by allowing those 2 runs to score with 2 outs that shouldn't have. And then you give up a 7 spot in a 5-1 game, and the Brewers batted 13 guys in that 8th inning.
Damn. God damn. Oh, my God.
And again, so the second time this week, the Brewers struck out only 5 times. I'm not worried about Woodford. The game was absolutely in hand. I mean, the Tigers had a position player pitching the 9th inning, so maybe should have let that guy pitch the 8th. I'm joking, obviously, but Yeah, what did you take away from last night?
Yeah, this team missing Yelly, Churio, and Vaughn found a way to score 12 runs without hitting a goddamn home run, dude. They just keep finding ways to win. They've had games where they had multiple home runs. They had a game of 4 home runs earlier this month, and they lost that game. But they still had it. They still showed that they could hit for power. That was the 2 home run game by Bryce Terang. They lead the MLB in infield hits. They steal bases. They play great defense. They're starting to get more consistent starting pitching. The bullpen was a little leaky there for about a week and a half, but it's starting to get back on track to where we kind of expect it. This offense last night had 16 hits. That's a season high to this point. 12 RBIs, season high to this point. Oh no, I apologize. Season high on the road. I meant to write down to this point because they had 14 RBIs in the first game.
Yep.
3 walks, 5 Ks. They had 5 players with at least 2 hits. 11 of the 12 players that got an at-bat got on base. Matos was the only one that didn't get on base. He only had 1 at-bat, so I'm not going to hold it against him like, oh, you SOB, you didn't get on base. Of the 16 hits, 13 of them were singles. 3 of those 13 were freaking infield hits. I mean, this team just finds a way to get it done, dude. They had 5 strikeouts, right? They had 8 players with a freaking RBI.
Nice.
What the hell is going on, dude? 10 of 16 runners in scoring position. So when they have those games where they're 4 of 13 runners in scoring position, if you keep putting people on base, and Tyler and I have been talking about this for like 3 years now.
Yep.
Just continue to put the pressure on. And Pat Murphy literally said this last night. Continue to put pressure on them. Continue to put pressure on them. Continue to put pressure on them. And that's something that we've been talking about. So I would like to think that we have some ball knowledge.
100%. The way that we say it, the way that we've been saying it since 2023, stacking traffic.
Yes.
That's what we call it.
Yeah. So love that. Bryce Terang got on base for his on base streak reached 20. That is the 3rd longest in franchise history. He is behind Robin Yount in 1983 at 23 games and Ryan Braun in 2011 at 28 games.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 more games, Bryce. You could be a Milwaukee Brewers lure #1 longest streak on base. That would be pretty tough. Bryce Terang's also tied for 10th in the NL for RBIs with Garrett Mitchell as well and Elly De La Cruz. He had 4 RBIs last night, got him up to 18. Mitchell got up to 18. Bowers is up to 14, getting a lot of consistent at-bats. And Contreras is up to 13. So this team is really just starting to hit on all cylinders. And, Trevor McGill, I was going to talk about him real quick, and I was going to talk about Aaron Ashby. So Trevor McGill, all the problems that he's had this year, he has a couple blown saves. He's given up some stuff. For him to continue to battle and not cause a fit and be one of those guys that's just like, no, I'm only a closer. I will only pitch in the 9th inning. Because we've seen that kind of stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't happened for us, thank God. But we've seen that kind of stuff before. So for him to be willing to go in, pitch in the 6th, go beat it to set up man sometimes, go pitch in the 7th inning, and just work on his craft to get back to a point that can help this team win, that really talks about the character of this team.
Agreed.
Honestly, man.
Agreed.
I love this team so much because there's not too many egos.
Agreed.
For as talented as they are, I mean, like I said, I talked about it before, the people are missing, pitchers and hitters, defense. I mean, this team they're in a really good spot for where they shouldn't be with the people they're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to talk about Ashby because he's been so good and he's got to get his flowers, right?
Yeah.
He's appeared in 12 games. He has 1 start, 15 innings pitched on the year, 13 hits, 5 earned runs, 8 Ks, and 8 walks and 24 Ks. He's also 5-0 in wins, dude. This guy has just been super impressive. He can start the game for you, like I said. He can come in the 3rd inning, the 5th inning, the 9th inning, coming in extra innings. I mean, this guy has just been incredible. That contract is starting to look real, real good right now when people were bitching about it. I'm just going to say that. That's another guy that people were kind of throwing dirt on his name, and he's become a very, very important piece in that bullpen. So shout out Aaron Ashby. Everyday Aaron. I love that, dude. Everyday Aaron.
Yeah, that rolls off the tongue nice. So we'll probably see Everyday Aaron at least a couple more times between now and next Wednesday. The Brewers play 2 more against Detroit. They play tonight and tomorrow night. They play Friday through Sunday against the Pirates, and then we will have the first of a 3-game series against Arizona starting next week. So we'll have another 6 games next week, and we'll be talking more Brewers. And then also check the guys out live on Friday night. They'll be live during the NFL draft for the second and third rounds. And then we'll also be live Monday night discussing the Packers draft class. So tune in for that on Monday night, and we'll see you guys Monday and next Wednesday.
Before we leave, the Brewers are starting D.L. Hall tonight as the opener. That'll be the 10th different starting pitcher for the Brewers this year, tying them for first in MLB with the Houston Astros. And tomorrow they face Skubal, and on Friday they face Skeens. So you got back-to-back Cy Young Award winners against this Brewers offense that is starting to hit its stride. So we're going to find some things out over the next couple of days about the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, love that. All righty. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Hell yeah, man.